All
All right.
right,
Okay.
cool. This is fun.
All right.
Well, Dr. A, it's pretty cool. This is probably long overdue. 16 years ago, I went to Bend, Oregon, and so did Tia, and you were on stage, and I was in the audience. I think I was about 20, 30 pounds into my weight loss journey, which I feel like I'm discrediting saying weight loss because of how far we've come and how much work you've done, how much work I've done, and what we've done in the last 16 years. But you stood on stage and you said, "We're going to get America healthy." And my wife believed you. And I told her, "Tia, he's crazy, you're crazy, don't say stupid stuff, but let's try to help a few people." And I'm happy to sit here and say I was wrong and you were right, because what we've done and what you've done and your vision has helped millions of people transform their life. But we look around America today, and sometimes it's easy to maybe get discouraged and say, wow, America's hurting.
Yeah, that's really true. And, for me, 3 million people isn't enough. We
No.
have 270 million Americans that need us, plus. We're fighting it so far downstream. I know I left critical care almost 25 years ago now because I was taken at the end point of disease processes. And medicine wasn't tooled for that. And I realized, even back then, that if I was going to go up and help people get healthy and get America healthy, I had to leave traditional medicine and go create this new idea about optimal health and well-being. And so we've helped over 3 million. We got a lot of people that need us, and we got a lot of work to do.
You left critical care at a key time, and I remember you saying one of your stories you told was you were tired of going out after operating on somebody and giving the hug and saying, "I'm sorry, I did everything I could." And you said, "I've got to swim upstream." Talk a little bit about the early stages of you and Lori and the girls, to where you took a huge chance, because there's a lot of people watching right now that are in the place that you were in 25 years ago. Of like, they maybe make a average income, but there's a little bit too much month left at the end of the money,
Yeah.
and they're struggling. Americans are hurting, but you took a chance to go all in on something that now we have and you created today for millions. But about that season that you chose to step out in faith and do something that you'd never done before.
Yeah. Well, first of all, health is a fundamental choice. It's absolutely critical for our life. And it isn't until it's gone. I had a dear friend that had pancreatic cancer, and I remember I went out when I was still in practice to see him, and he had young kids. And I actually put him on Hyper-Al to give him enough nutrition because he couldn't eat anything, just to have him feel good for the weekend, right? And we walked down to the park, and he had these two little kids. He goes, Dr. A said, the guy that said, if you got your health, you got everything, really nutted it. And it's so true. So I just saw the rampant disease processes causing suffering, seeing the same people come back in, sending them home. I never got anybody healthy, reacted to disease, used all the latest research, Star Wars technology. And I just started realizing that this isn't the answer. Now, and we're going to talk about it in a minute, but now I realize we've moved so far upstream. So I went upstream, and found the hole in the bridge where the bodies were floating down. But now we're really going back to the fundamentals of what we call metabolic health. And in my first book in 2008, I talked a lot about that. But all those things are connected. And recently we're finding out that actually this quicksand, this metabolic quicksand that we put people in, starts all the way back with their lifestyle. It starts back with what they eat, how they move, how they handle stress, how they sleep. All those things are critical. So I realized if I moved upstream and started helping people, it can make a big difference. And it's probably the most important thing I've ever done in my life. I helped 3 or 4 people, keep them from dying in the ICU every day. Like you said, we've helped 3 million people. Now, that's just the start, but it's at least a good move in the right direction.
I love the 2.0 era because I want to give credit to where we came from and that I've been a part of for 16 years. We had an incredible program. You came out with the Habits of Health book, the first edition, and the workbook about the time T and I found the program in late 2009. Combine that with the community, and we've really surrounded people in what used to call the bio network, putting people in this bio network of support. And I think that served us for a season, but comes along the last 3 years and the complete health, wellness, diet, weight loss industry, GLP-1s came onto the market, and everything's been just disrupted, and there's been confusion. So talk a little bit about the confusion, but more so now where we're going.
Yeah, no, I love that. And, back then, I knew hormones were really important, and I knew that the lifestyle change needed to be made. I also knew that long-term success required lifestyle change. If If you didn't make lifestyle change, your chances of long-term success were fleeting.
Yeah.
I also realized that basically diets don't work by themselves. Average person that goes on a diet is more likely to be overweight or obese than someone that hasn't gone on a diet. Metabolic dysfunction affects every single human on this planet, some more than others. It's literally combined what causes cardiovascular disease, diabetes, cancers, cognitive decline. They're all related to how our body works. And what's really cool about what we're doing now is we're taking all those aspects and moving it into a new world, a blue ocean strategy. You know, the red ocean strategy, because people would see, because we're so effective at helping people lose weight, they thought that's all they had to do, to get rid of something. But actually, problem solving never works. It's Americans think they can problem solve.
Right.
Americans basically try to lose weight multiple times and they oscillate. And the deal is this, they're not gaining health.
No.
They're simply doing something to get pounds off the scale. And then as soon as they stop doing it, they gain their weight back.
They're seeing that as the finish line.
Yeah, rather
Versus
than
that's
start.
actually the start.
In fact, weight is actually one of the symptoms of metabolic dysfunction.
Sure.
So as we preferentially look at how we can abruptly stop that, you know, one of the things we're now focused on is how to actually reverse metabolic dysfunction through our programs. And the programs always work. We now have the research to back it up. We can now make the claims. No one else can make those claims.
Right.
And then when you combine that with the habit cell system, which creates the long-term optimization of your metabolic health, we're in great shape. We spent the 20 plus years learning how to change lifestyle. Now on the front end, we put ourselves in a completely different market, a market where the conversation affects over 90% of people, puts people in position. You know, I can tell you right now, I want kids never to suffer the metabolic dysfunction that they have by eating processed food, being stressed out, not sleeping well, not active. You know, the average young kid is outside 8 minutes a day. Basically, we're becoming an indoor species. All those things are critical, but we need to do it in a way that, what I've always talked about, the teachable moment.
Right.
And now we can make the claim to get on our program and we can create metabolic synchronization, which in essence just means is we're bringing the body back into concert where all the systems are starting to work together and energy metabolism is now going back to normal. And as that happens, insulin level goes down right away. We know this. This is the one key thing I wrote in 2008 on the first Habits of Health. When your insulin's high, you can't burn fat.
Right.
If you can't burn fat, you're going to store fat. If you store fat, you're going to store it in your visceral adiposity, which is inside the belly underneath the muscles. And when that happens, it sends out all kinds of pro-inflammatories that want to get more blood flow because as those cells, see the cells, the hypertrophied cells in the viscera inside the guts, they can't grow in numbers because there's no room. They grow in size. And as they grow in size, they outstrip their blood supply. So they get ischemic, which means they're hypoxic. The blood supply doesn't work. So what they do is they send out these pro-inflammatories that are designed by the cells to get more blood flow, to get more capillaries. But they go out into the whole body and they cause literally what we like to say this 5-alarm fire.
And that's why somebody feels that in the inflammation, you feel that heat and like your body is like burning up.
And you notice it
you're
at
even hot.
night. You really notice it at night, because what happens is your body normally resets and goes into a mild fasting state. Insulin level goes down normally, and so you start burning fat, and you're re-equilibrating everything. But it doesn't happen if you just had a hot fudge sundae before you went to bed.
So we, Satya and her team came out with these amazing 16-week studies that we're knowing now that our program is targeting really directly at the visceral fat. 14%, in fact, right, is where it's targeting.
Yeah, within 4 months.
Following by 98% retaining of muscle mass. I mean, I think of those two things right there of talk about getting someone on the path to truly optimal health, but reversing their metabolic dysfunction in such a short amount of time. I would like you to speak a little bit to maybe even the critics or the person that doesn't fully understand what is unique about our program and why is it so healthy and safe to do our program, knowing that the end goal is to, in the beginning, we're going to drop down their calories. We're going to put them on a mild plan. But I want you to speak to that and the intent of where you want to see each client ultimately end up after their step one weight loss.
Yeah, no, those are great questions, Doug. You know, the key thing here is that, and something I talked about all the way back in 2008 is glycemic index. Some foods raise your blood sugar. If they raise your blood sugar, they raise your insulin. In fact, we know that insulin goes up. Insulin resistance starts years before you ever have symptoms. And it happens because you're eating high sugary substances, starches, and your insulin responds to that. So it starts going up and up and up, and you may not know for 5 years after you've already have insulin resistance that you even have it because it's kind of silent. So yeah, the key thing that we can do now with our program, and what I always loved and why I picked Metavast way back in the beginning, because I saw effectively how well people lost weight.
Sure.
At that time, I didn't know that much about metabolic dysfunction. We were just learning about it. We actually called it metabolic syndrome. We called it Syndrome X because we didn't know back then. But now we know a lot. And we know that how our products work is they are designed specifically to give you balanced protein, which you need. And we'll go back for a minute and talk about the 98% preservation of lean mass, because that's really important as compared to if you do the GLP-1 drugs by themselves without doing those things. So that's really important. But the other part is their portion control, and they turn off insulin. That's why people on our program within 3 or 4 days, their sugar cravings go away. Yeah. They have lots of energy. Why? You turned off insulin, they're burning fat, and fat is an amazing energy source, and your brain loves fat. It loves to have ketones up there, which come from fat.
Yeah.
So we feel good. You feel good, you have lots of energy, and it creates that teachable moment. Well, now we know with the new research we have and all the design elements on that, we can make those claims that you just said, 14% reduction in visceral fat within 16 weeks. We can preserve 98% of lean mass, and we protect healthy muscle. Well, and all those things are... Because, not to contrast, the GLP drugs are important. They're part of our armamentarium. They're important tools if used correctly. Now, here's the deal. When you basically don't use them correctly, they actually can worsen your metabolic health. Because if you're losing muscle is the key metabolic organ. It's like a big sponge. And, we're all going to do something or have something to eat that may have some sugar in it. When you have lots of muscle, it's like a sponge.
Yep.
It can take and absorb it, and it keeps you, and you don't get that high glucose and the high insulin. So what's great about our 16-week study is it shows that we reverse visceral adiposity, lower it, and as doing that, we start reversing metabolic syndrome. 2, as I mentioned, we don't lose muscle, and we don't lose basically lean mass. So together, we're actually putting the body in much better position. Now, if someone's really highly susceptible to food, ultra-processed food, and the dictionology is all over the big food companies, right? If you're really and have failed many times in diet, there is a place for GLPs for you. They help give you, in that period, a hall pass, so to speak, where then we can teach you the habits of health and learn the things that are necessary.
So before we move on to, because you wrote an amazing book that came out today, which we'll talk about in one moment, but speak to how important transitioning from the phase 1 of our program into really a metabolically healthy diet and a day-to-day lifestyle of movement, weightlifting, things like that. Talk about the importance of not just seeing phase 1 as the last phase and getting close to the finish line and stopping cold turkey versus doing the transition process all the way through.
Yeah, well, and 2 reasons for that. One is, as we mentioned, it puts us in a different market. We're talking blue ocean. We're talking metabolic optimization, metabolic synchronization. So right from the start, we're going to start attracting more and more people. The second part is we've already spent, as I mentioned, almost 20 years developing the 6 macro habits, which are all the other key lifestyle changes. And as you mentioned, we know now, when I wrote the first Habits of Health, basically there was a thing said, exercise 3 days a week, that's all you have to do. And I said, that's not right. Remember, non-exercise activity, because we're sitting on our rear ends on a computer all day long. You need more than 3.
It's even worse now.
Yeah, and so now the studies, 100 different studies have come out showing how sedentary lifestyles are programmed. We know now that actually mobilizing in the moment, just getting up, if you are at your desk, getting up and going for a walk, going up and down the stairs, starts making it easier to facilitate entry of glucose into your cells, which means you're going to naturally lower your blood sugar by learning the habits of healthy motion. So, and then obviously sleep, cortisol release. Sleep is so critical. And, I wore a a glucose monitor, and every morning about 4 o'clock in the morning, my glucose starts going up a little bit as a result of cortisol, which is a good thing, helps you get up and have lots of energy and get you going in the day. Unfortunately, when you're stressed out, which is pretty much most Americans, you're releasing cortisol in a chronic stress state. At that level, your insulin goes up high, and as that happens, then you're progressively getting worse in your metabolic health. That's why a healthy mind. We've been teaching that for years. And you mentioned about the bio network. The bio network I defined as someone in the inside got themselves healthy and then reached out and helped others. That was the fundamental. That is so critical because our coaches now have been down the same journey and probably struggled with many diets. In fact, we know that. We've got 24 years of coaches now.
Yes.
And they've struggled. And actually now where we are is we've refined this. We've made it easier and easier. And like just even things as simple as having the Habits Health on audio. So people can listen to it when they're going to
Right.
work or working out. So there's a lot of things we can do.
Yeah. So actually, I want to go back to GLP-1s because you wrote a brand new book, My Prescription for Life, and it launched today. And in fact, you just told me it's already sold out.
Yeah.
So first of all, what is the book about?
Well, it's actually addressing this incredible revolution, the weight loss revolution. And AI and GLP-1 drugs, Ozempic type drugs, are the two things everybody's talking about. Actually, right now, 25 to 50 million Americans, just in America, are thinking about going on one. I mean, it's a huge group of people. And what we know is that they are a catalyst. They're amazing at giving you willpower in an injection.
Right.
But they're time stamped.
Yep.
If you're thinking you're going to make your health great by just taking a shot, which, we always want the easy button, right?
Yep.
It's not going to work. Most people, very few people actually have dramatic change in their lifestyle. And the problem is they last about a year, and then after that time period, they stop losing their efficacy and they stop working. And you have to continue to take them. Now, we don't have any idea of the long-term side effects. We know in the diabetic population where they were designed for, we have 10 plus years. In this population, we have less than 3 years. So they just come out in the last 3 years. So I wanted to write a book, number one, to identify it's not your fault. Remember when I did that years ago? Yeah, the world's toxic. I mean, we were just in Galicia, Spain, shooting a documentary called Health by Design, and it's so obvious why they're so healthy. I mean, there's no fast food restaurants.
Right.
Basically, they're walking up and down the hills.
Yep.
They eat mostly seafood and vegetables, and they're happy as hell.
Yeah.
They're exercising and they're singing together at night. On a weeknight, we walked down the street, and they were just singing and having a ball.
Yeah.
So then I got on a plane, flew nonstop to Philly, got off at Philly at the airport, and they had the Philly cheesesteak and all the stuff, and it was like I just landed on a
back
pile.
in America.
And people wonder, why is the world so toxic?
Right.
Well, basically because the food industry is not our friend. In fact, along with stress, not sleeping well, people not happy, it's really gotten to be a problem. So that's letting people know the story. The second part of the book is about the weight loss revolution. Really knowing, hell, these drugs came from a Gila monster, a damn lizard from out where you live, out in Arizona, and that they got to be able to get exenatide, which was the first one that was long enough acting, because when they're in the body, they're really short acting, so you couldn't take them. So how it evolved, where it is, where it's going. Then the third, which is my favorite, is are these right for you? So our coaches are going to be able to work with their clients or people saying, yeah, you thought about going on a GLP-1 medicine. Let's read this part. Read this first, and then let's sit down and have a discussion, because they might be right for you. If you're highly susceptible, and we do that little quiz.
Sure.
If you're highly susceptible, yeah, they might be good for us to use for a while, and then you go to part 4, prescription for now, which is tongue in cheek, which is all about, okay, but as a coach, I'm going to help you. When you go on the medicine, you'll get the medicine from your doctor, and then I'm going to be your coach. And I'm going to help you learn to move more. I'm going to teach you about weight resistance training. I'm going to teach you to eat healthy proteins. I'm going to teach you how to sleep better in the beginning. If in part 3 you realize you don't need the drugs because your health isn't really that bad, you just want to lose some weight or just have early metabolic dysfunction, come right over to Prescription for Life. And Prescription for Life is a short version, because the book is designed as a primer to be able to read in a day or two. It's not like the Habit Cell System, which is the lifetime lifestyle program. So basically, then you go right to Prescription for Life, and what do you have? You have a coach, you have the community, you understand the 6 macro habits, and then you're able to move forward and create health. So I honestly, and I had 2 physicians last night tell me, they said, now that we've read it, they were in the pre-read, they go, any physician that is prescribing a GLP-1 medications needs to give my prescription for life with it, because it's almost irresponsible. Because if you leave someone to their own accord, they're going to take the shot.
Sure.
Instead of eating 3 donuts, they're going to eat half of one because they're not so hungry. But their insulin level is going to stay up. So since their insulin level is up, they can't burn fat. Remember, we've been talking about that. Since they can't burn fat, what are they going to burn? Protein. The protein they have in their body is only stored in one way, in lean mass and muscle. So they're going to hurt themselves and they're kicking the can down the road.
What I loved about our relationship for so many years is you're always on the front line. I mean, I remember even back during COVID and everything, and I was texting you. I'm like, hey, what do you think about this? And you're doing studies and constantly filling your day-to-day life with knowledge. You're listening to podcasts, you're reading magazines. It seems like you're always it seems like you're two years ahead of the world. Where would some watching, or even speaking to the coaches for a few moments, what would you say of where you developed your hunger to learn and get better every day? And I don't see you slowing down.
Yeah, well, thanks. I've always had that. I've always been really. I came from a very poor, modest family. I lived in a tenement house in New York City when I was really little. I always loved nature, and I think I've told this story to you before. But my father was in the Air Force, and so we lived in Spain, and I read a book on surgery, and I thought, man, I would love to check this out. And I was 9 years old. So I got our housekeeper to take me to downtown Sevilla, Spain. Went to a medical supply company, and I got ether, suture material, and basic scalpels. And I went and got frogs. I put them to sleep and cut them open and watched their beating heart. So the thing with that, and just to show how tuned our coaches are, most physicians, just to show you how they get into a convention. It's hard to move them out of convention. And there's an old saying, we say, don't be the first to try something new or the last to abandon something that's old, right? But basically, physicians are still using fasting blood sugar as a standard to see if somebody has prediabetes or metabolic dysfunction. Bottom line is, by the time your sugar is out, if it's under 100, they just say, you're good. By the time your blood sugar starts going up, you may have had insulin resistance for 5 to 10 years, insidiously affecting your organs, starting to cause that malaise where you're just feeling that brain fog, and put in position where you just don't feel good, right? And you want to go to the doctor and get a B12 shot because you want someone to make you better, rather than realize, if I just stop eating this stuff. And that's the cool thing about what we do. We create that teachable moment in the beginning. And now in 16 weeks, if we can reverse your metabolic dysfunction with a 14 to 16%, 14% reduction in visceral fat, 90% reduction, saving your muscle, your lean mass in your muscle, we put you in great position to start this journey.
Right.
And our coaches know how to teach the macro habits. They know about all of them, and they're living them. I mean, look what's happened to you from when you started, right? The feelings helped, and you lose weight, and you feel better. But if you don't do more, it's not going to last. So we have the underlying structure determines everything. So we've created in our health community, we've created Galicia, Spain.
Yes.
We have actually created an environment where you're around like-minded people. When we're going to be eating dinner a bit later, and you'll watch and see at dinner, there's no bad stuff there. In fact, I was kidding around because of metabolic health when we were in Sundance, and they brought a little roll.
The roll.
And by the second day, no one was eating the roll,
That's
and they were
right.
taking the desserts, they were taking them all back.
That's right.
And that's what we want.
Yeah.
We are creatures of habit. We do what the 5 people we're closest to do, and we hang around with people. We're designing and engineering. And so the 4 components, basically, having the coaches at the center. And now we can make the claim that in that first 16 weeks, by having a coach, you're going to lose 10 times more weight and 17 times more fat than on a control program or a controlled diet program, which is awesome.
It is.
Second, having this community where we can all be together.
Right.
Third is having the habits of having our own basic proprietary lifestyle program that we've evolved over 20 years. And like in My Prescription for Life, that is the latest thinking in even going on to the future of optimal health, the things that we'll be doing over the next 10 years. We're going to lead the world in metabolic health and optimizing our metabolic health. And we'll continue to evolve our products now focused. How do we get people to maximize the time, making it shorter to get back to optimal metabolic health? Because that's moving all the way upstream. That's where your insulin level is normal. You have what we call metabolic flip. You can change with flexibility from sugar, burning glucose in your cells, to burning fat like that. In fact, that's one thing you've done by getting yourself morphologically into a great physical shape. You're able to switch off. So when you sleep at night, and you should actually try glucose just to see.
We're ready to.
Yeah, you should try it, because what you'll see is at night when you go to sleep, you'll go into a fasting state like that. And as soon as you go into that fasting state, because you have great flexibility, you're basically burning fat, and you'll see that, and you'll see the difference. Your glucose will go down. It'll stay down, and it'll generally rise up in the morning. So you're actually learning to be able, and you want to burn fat.
Right.
We only have about 1,500 calories in glycogen. Glycogen is the only way the body can store sugar, right?
Sure.
And it's a long-chain starch. And it's in our liver, and basically it's in our muscles. But we have very little. That's why in a marathon, people talk about getting the bear on their back, right? When they're running a marathon, because they run out of that. And if they haven't trained properly, they can't switch. They can't switch to fat.
Hmm.
And fat is an unlimited resource for us. So
Right.
that's a natural part of building metabolic flexibility.
So talk to me. I'd like to change gears a little bit towards the coaches. There's a lot of clients and coaches that maybe they didn't ultimately reach their healthy weight, and now they're maybe watching from the outside looking in right now, because it's easy to go within and go, man, I didn't do it perfectly. I'm not where I wanted to be. And this goes for all Americans. What would you say to the person that's been sitting on the sidelines right now, taking a back seat in their health, and maybe even thinking about the new year? And I mean, I begin to think, what's going to be different this time? Like, why are you waiting? But I know you really taught me everything comes down to a choice and a decision. And so speak to maybe the coach or the client or the person watching from the outside right now.
Yeah, so our coaches have been through the journey, just like yourself. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Most of our coaches, and we've refined over the last 20 plus years, we've refined our system to be simpler. And that's one of the things we're really focusing on right now with our coaches, make it so simple. So this language, this moving into metabolic optimization, we have very simple language our coaches can use, but it separates them from everybody else. So that's the first. You don't need to be the scientist. That's my job.
Right.
That's Satya's job.
Yeah.
We're those scientists. We're the ones that write the books and do the things. We want to make it so that you can go out and do what's most important. Because if we're going to change the world, we're in the coaching model is the best model for us to leverage and change the world.
Yeah.
And when I did start talking about moving from helping just America get healthy to the world.
Right.
We literally, with our business model, with our coaches, we're in the best, and with our leadership, with incredible leaders that have come up like yourself and Tia and all the other leaders, we're in position now to create an army that can change the world.
Mm-hmm.
I always talk about the 300 Spartans. You get a group of people that are trained leaders, and they now have sharp swords. They can hold off the horde, the barbarian horde, forever. And that's our job. The barbarian horde is the toxic environment we're in, and we have the opportunity to bring more people into our community. And if you're a coach and you kind of sat on the sidelines, now's the time to really explore. Because here's what I always say to any coach. In the very beginning, when I first came out and started building this model of what's now our 3.0 mission, I realized the power of awakening somebody to the potential they might not have had early on and putting you in position as a coach to become a leader, become a dominant leader, and change your stars. I can tell you there is no mechanism in the world that is a better business model. There's no mechanism in the world where you can actually help people be more successful than yourself.
Right.
That's huge for
Doesn't
me
exist.
because bottom line is optimal health and well-being, the well-being part. When you become a coach, you start helping others. And last night, we had a reception. I must have had 100 people come and say, thank you for saving my life.
Yeah.
People go, you ask me, why am I so enthusiastic? Because that fuels me.
Right.
And that fuels our mission because the world is a mess. And I got to tell you, the medications are a good advancement from the medical side. But nothing, and I've been quoting this for 25 years, nothing outside of us will help us create optimal health and well-being. That's an inside job. Using tools, using our fuelings, using our community, changing your behavior, choice, all those things enter into it. Once we make a decision to do that, we can change the world. Because people don't want more medicines or more surgery. I can tell you that for sure. And if we can help people basically start getting healthy, change their metabolic. First of all, you feel so much better.
Right.
I mean, we have an example. Most of our coaches, because we didn't talk about it in that way, that fourth day, when your client is now feeling better and calling you all excited, that's because you've just shut insulin down and you've now burning fat and you're feeling that metabolic reversal starts. Now, after all these years, we can actually make those claims. And we can actually talk about, as a coach, my blood pressure improved, my diabetes improved, my insulin sensitivity improved, my cholesterol went down. I mean, we're able to, and of course, one of the cool things, we're doing body composition because, by the way, if you're going on a GLP-1 drug, you need to do it. Because if you don't, you're going to find out that you're probably cannibalizing muscle and you're putting yourself in worse metabolic health. Maybe not in that little window, but after that window.
Right.
But for all our coaches now, really understanding that is really, really important because that body composition is the key for longevity. And I can tell you, just on the airplane yesterday coming in, there was a 50-year-old man that could not get his carry-on bag up into the thing. I had to help him with it. At 50 years old, you're like that, you're going to be in real trouble.
Right.
We need to focus on our metabolic health, and the metabolic health is all the habits of health combined with using these incredible tools we have. So
how old are you? 73.
3.
73, and you're helping a 50-year-old man.
Yeah,
put their,
it's something.
I mean,
Yeah.
And you've done a lot of
Yeah.
work on yourself the
Yeah.
last couple of years.
I have. Well, you know, when I started, when we decided, actually before when the GLP drugs came out, I wanted to write this book because we are the missing ingredient
Right.
for people going on those drugs. So they need
Mm-hmm.
us, and they need a small primer so they understand why they need
Mm-hmm.
us so much, right? And what's nice is the coaches will master that and then be able to use that as in the discussion point with, hey, read this part 3, and then let's sit down and talk about whether you need them.
Yeah.
Because now you have a built-in intro. If you need them, great. I'm going to help you there. If you don't need them, then we'll go right on to the prescription for
Sure.
life. So one of the key things for me was to put a glucometer on, and you know I've been talking about educating on health for almost a quarter of a century. When I put the glucose monitor, before I had always extricated from all the other studies, like what low glycemic products were and stuff, but I wanted to make sure I had a real experience, so I wrote from experience and made it so that the potential candidate or client would really get it.
Right.
So I put this glucometer on, and I followed everything. Like I used to think popcorn was healthy because, you know, it's a
Right.
lot of air, so
Sure.
it's not a lot of calories. But, you know, I remember the first time I had the monitor on, and I sat down after working, and I had some popcorn, and I checked my monitor. My peak went up to like 108. I go, whoa!
Yeah.
So I eliminated that. You know,
Right.
not knowing that.
Yeah.
Because it's only what you know, and everybody responds a little differently. But yeah, I just started focusing on not getting those peaks. In other words, keeping my blood sugar under control with nice rolling hills, so that way my insulin levels stayed controlled, right? And I lost 20 pounds, and my waist circumference is the same as it was when I was in high school now. And it happened naturally. What's great about it, I have our famous brownie, you know, or fueling every morning for breakfast. And you know, when I watch it, my blood sugar goes just like that. So using the products together, that's why in our new market, especially now with the news coming out that Medicare and Medicaid and many others are going to follow in the next 12 to 24 months, as far as coaches getting re-involved.
Right.
When those drugs come down to like $100, $150, bottom line is then they can actually use our program, the fuelings, and the fuelings now, because we preserve 98% of our lean muscle and mass and muscle, protect our muscle, we're a natural fit. So they should be hand in hand.
So in this closing section, I want the audience to get to know Dr. A little bit. And the first question I have, and after that we'll do rapid fire. I think back to some of the greatest men that have started some incredible things in the world. I think of Donald Trump and all he's accomplished. I see Elon Musk. I see Jeff Bezos. I even have read a lot up on Lincoln. And all of them talk about a time that they wanted to quit, but they didn't, and they pushed through, and now there's Tesla. You know, now there's Amazon on their hardest days. We are now sitting here on the edge of literally you've created an amazing company, and I know you won't take all the credit, but as a community we have, but you spearheaded it. You left critical care, you swam upstream, you found Metafast. Here we are 25 years later, and we're on the edge of about ready to go international and truly change the world. Describe a time that Dr. A, even maybe in the last 5, 10, 15 years max, that you actually was like, it would just be easier to quit, but you didn't. How did you get through that day?
Yeah, well, I'm going to go all the way back because, you know, I was the director of critical care, surgical intensive care, and I was the department chairman. I lived in a beautiful house that I designed. I had a 3-month and 3-year-old babies. My wife was an incredible partner. She was a nurse anesthetist. We had everything. I mean, I go out to restaurants. They took care of me. I was making really substantial income. And I got totally disgruntled with what was going on with reacting to disease. So, and this is a tribute to my wife, because you have a 3-month-old and 3-year-old, and all of a sudden your crazy husband moves across I felt like the Beverly Hillbillies. I moved across the country to Portland, where you're from, and lived on credit cards for 2 years. And there were some times when, you know, I had to get baby food for Erica, and I had to take my credit card checks in order to cash enough because I was made no money for 2 years. And I had the chief of surgery come out to visit me because they wanted me back, because they were missing me, because I was pretty unique in what I did as a critical care, because there weren't very many of us. He came back, and he saw me holding Erica and Savannah home with my family. I had a little Porsche. We put car seats in the back. And he looked at me and saw the joy in my face because we were creating something special. He said, "You're not coming back, are you?" I said, "No, let's have a nice meal, and sorry you came all the way out here because I didn't ask you to." There were time and periods where you just, well, there were time and periods where you kind of look at everything and it looks like the movie Wall Street, Charlie Sheen was in it. Remember that? and he had done something, and Hal Holbrook was talking to him because he got in trouble, and he was down in the abyss. He said, sometimes you're down in the abyss and you look up and you wonder where we're going to go. Well, I can tell you that I've already been here. We had nothing. MetaFast was $3. It was 22 cents a share when I joined. And the first they had their volume that year in 2001 was $3 million. And I basically, Brad, the co-founder, said, I told him what I wanted to do. I wanted to go build a health network, right? People, coaches. And he said, well, you have to put your retirement in it because I'm not going to do this because I don't. So I took my retirement and basically bought the stock for 22 cents, well, 50 cents a share. It was 22 cents a share. And my financial advisor said to me, nah, don't do that. That's an over-the-counter penny stock. It'll never amount to anything. And I said, listen, you guys lost 40% of my retirement with your blue chips. I can at least control this.
Sure.
So when you get empowered and you get it inside of you, I wasn't going back. There's a song right now, a country western song, "Not Coming Back."
Right.
You know heard that?
Yeah.
I love that song. And basically, I wasn't coming back.
Yeah.
And you realize when you've had it. Every coach that's listening has had it where someone says, "You saved my life." They're having it. There's nothing more empowering than actually making a change in someone's life. And as coaches, we get to do that every day. I mean, I come and get infused with energy. I mean, we've been going all day long. I'm not the least bit. Well, first of all, metabolically healthy.
Yep.
Second of all, psychologically, we're doing something that's so important. And thirdly, 3 million people in a world that has over 8 billion people, and we now have the technology, we have the resources, and we have the company with the leadership in the company that's gone international many times before. So we're just sitting in the precipice. And 50% of the world, by the way, has insulin resistance.
Right.
So it's not a local problem.
No.
It's a global problem.
National.
But as we attack now, for any coach listening to this, we attack in the next 6 to 12 months as we evolve to where we are. And I can sense, I can feel it.
Yep.
A lot of people are just, they're kind of, fake it till you make it.
Yep.
Well, we're not faking it.
No.
We're on. I just had a meeting with the CEO of the company about our future, and we're in position now and designed to change the world.
Yeah.
And nobody is overnight success.
Yeah.
Well, it's been 25 years. It's taken us 25 years to have this overnight success. But we're about ready to explode on all cylinders. And as that happens, one of our old partners. I had a friend that was a Marine. Remember Leo?
Yeah.
We talked about the rocket.
Rocket ship.
Yeah, the rocket ship. Yeah, his friend was an astronaut. On it, and they were getting ready to take off, and they had to delay it. And they got him. They had to take it off, and they had to come out. And he goes. I realized I was sitting on a rocket ship, getting ready to get my butt launched into space. We're basically at air. We're the rocket ship.
Yeah, we are. Yeah. All right, so let's close up with some fun, quick, rapid-fire questions. Dr. Ray, what's your favorite hobby?
Skiing.
Skiing?
Yeah, skiing and sailing, they're close.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
I thought it would have been sailing, but I know you spend your time up now jumping out of helicopters.
Yeah,
at 73 years old.
Heli skiing. I couldn't do it 20 years ago. I can tell you I couldn't. And that's really a tribute. I'm so tired of excuses. Yeah. There are no excuses. You can do whatever you choose in here. This is the most powerful organ in our body, our mind. And when you make a decision, you're awakened to that. And that's the role of our coaches. Awaken people to the decision, and you can change everything in your lives.
Yeah. What's your favorite football team?
Well, right now they're not doing so well, but I'm a hardcore Gator.
Gator, okay.
Yeah.
You watch NFL much?
I watch the Ravens because we were here for a while. We used to have a suite here, and I watched the Dolphins, and I like the Kansas City Chiefs too.
Sure. Yeah. I've been getting into soccer. Phoenix is obsessed with soccer, and so we've been following Messi, and I think we want to go see a game like in Barcelona.
Well, you should come. We should go see one in. We should go see Manchester United.
That would be amazing.
My daughter lives in Manchester.
That's right, she does.
And her husband is a big time soccer guy. In fact, he's thinking about working for one of the soccer teams.
And Dr. A, I saw on Facebook that she announced that you are going to be a grandpa.
Yeah, that's hard. I don't know what I feel about that. I mean, I'm excited for that part, but hell, I'm not old enough to be a grandfather.
I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. So if Dr. A could fly anywhere in the world right now, which you could, but you're here, but where would you go or go back to?
Well, I'm in love with Italy. I love it. I love you know why? The fratima, the brotherhood. There's a sense of life. And while we were in Galicia, Spain is up there too. When we were in Galicia, we went back through Madrid, and we interviewed a cultural anthropologist, and she does tours. And she said something which is so something, the message needs to get out to the United States, to America. She said, basically, we work to live, not live to work.
Mm.
And you can feel it in everything they do. There's this sense of just happiness and joy. You know, it's almost like in the United States when we're little kids, they go
Yeah.
success and whisper that in our
Sure.
ear. And so we spend our whole life sacrificing our family,
Sure.
sacrificing our health. So then by the time we get that success, now we got to pay all our medical bills and pay for alimony because
Yep.
we've destroyed our family life,
Yeah.
right? So no, I love the Mediterranean countries. I think they're beautiful. They have a
Mm.
real love for people and art, and they don't take life too seriously.
Who is someone that is still living that you admire or most respect or have mentored with?
Well, I have a couple really good friends. Jim Defner is a dear friend. He's a highly accomplished, conscious leader. He knows a lot. Their book actually is getting ready to be re-released to the whole public because it was kind of a niche market book, but it was picked up because and they didn't even ask for it. They're just that people realize how important it is. So my relationship with him, because we're the same age, but he's been on the journey to having, developing consciousness, psychological flexibility. He's a highly integrity-based guy, and he's a great mentor for me. I really enjoy that time with him. And then I actually was talking to Robert Fritz
Were you?
2 days ago.
Ah.
Yeah, we had an hour and a half of Zoom. Robert's another brilliant leader in the creative space.
Yes.
They both have had, Robert especially in the creative process. I mean, the creative process is the most powerful force on the earth. And that's the force that we want every coach and every client to know, that you can become ultimately responsible, focus on the future you want, and organize your life around what matters. And then structurally, through doing that and working with us, we can help you get there.
I'm here. T and I are here today because of our time at Sundance with you and Robert. I look
That was
back
a
at
wonderful
that
time.
season. It was. I mean, we came in with such positive belief, positive thinking, positive thinking. And don't get me wrong, that's good. And you got to believe when you have something, you believe in something. But there's a big difference between believing in something that's been done for you and actually realizing you got to now do the work. It doesn't matter what you believe. What do you want to create, and now what action steps are going to get there? And I'm so grateful for that. So maybe
Well, I
someone.
want to just say one thing on that,
Please.
because this is really important. So actually, we were talking about this again because I'm always in search. You said I'm curious. I'm always in search of how can I help people get out of here, drop the rock, and
Right.
really move forward.
Right.
Because there's just so many false starts, right, and oscillations. And one of the things we talked about, which we talk about all the time, is primary, secondary choice. So you mentioned I like to heli ski. I'm not a gym rat like you. I
Right.
mean, I'm active as hell. I'm doing
Sure.
stuff every day. I walk the beach. I'm out on the boat. I'm doing all kinds of stuff. I have 3 floors. I don't put something in a basket and take it up later. I go up and down the stairs 30
Sure.
times a day, right? Non-exercise activity. But we talk about secondary choice is that I love to ski. And in the winter, when I go skiing, heli ski, I'm going with 30-year-olds from Austria. They're the best skiers in the world.
Right.
And when they drop you out of a helicopter, and it's not cheap, they want to ski. They don't want to wait for some old guy, decrepit guy. So I know I got to be on my A game, because if they're looking back, waiting for me to catch up. So basically in the fall, the secondary choices, I start, and I just built a gym. I'm right now working on getting in better shape on the bike, doing this, because it's a secondary choice. I
Sure.
put my running shoes on and go downstairs, because I know if I don't do that, my primary choice is to be good at heli skiing, I won't do it. So by putting the motivation about what's most important to us, and then what supports it, the things that we don't want to do. Just like as an example, you're starting to run. You get up in the morning, you say, I'm going to get up in the morning, I'm going to run a mile, and you haven't
Right.
run. And
Sure.
So you snooze alarm goes off. What do? You hit the snooze alarm. You don't go run. If the night before, you call up your next door neighbor and you just say, hey, listen, let's go out and go for a run tomorrow. If that happens, you'll go do it.
You'll meet you outside.
That's what the bio network, that's what our community, that's
Yeah,
what our
that's most
coach is for, to help create the underlying structure so now you're motivated to do it. And finding the things, that's why I always say, organizing your life around what matters most. When you highly are motivated to do something, you'll do it with very little motivation. If you're not. So that's why I always like to use the example, and I ask the moms in the room and dads, if you're in a big hotel like we're at now, and your kids are in the other room, in the other bedroom, and the suite catches on fire, and you're 50 stories up, and there's a little bitty rim where you can get to them on the outside, you're jumping out there and doing it.
Yeah.
Why? Because they're primary, the most important thing in your
Sure,
life.
that's
And
right.
all of a sudden, you're not worried about falling. You're worried about saving their life.
That's right.
If we look and see what are the things that are most important to us, and then organize our structure around that with primary, secondary choice, knowing that fundamental choice, health, is one, just like freedom.
Yep.
I mean, we have guys get over all the time, and they're fighting wars and stuff for freedom, in search of freedom. Same thing with our health. It should be the same basic battle.
That's exactly right. So, last question, Dr. A. In the, I think, many years that you have left, because you've said you're going to live over 100.
123.
123.
Louise Calmet lived to be 122. She's the longest. So I figured 123 sideways into my grave while they're putting the dirt on it. Why? Health span and lifespan. That's our goal with metabolic optimization, is to get so that you are healthy right up to that moment where they put you in the ground.
So, when is your time to be in the ground? How will you know and measure that your work and your life is complete? What needs to happen?
Well, the first thing's already happened. I have great leadership. When I started this, I had to go all the ranks first. Lori and I had to go all the way, become the first, the integrated presidential. I have a great team of leaders, a great team of leaders. And you guys are accomplished. You're on focus. You got high energy. You're younger, so you're going to be able to set the stage for the future. So that part's done. Okay. We now have a partner in the company that really gets what we're doing. Metabolic health has always been my desire. That's why I started right in the beginning talking about how important insulin was, right? Now they're in sync with us, and now basically the problem is bigger than ever. So I would like to take my last breath, look up, and see that our mission and our company and our name is now the stamp, the gold standard for any product, any program, any coach that has our symbol on it as our symbol evolves. They will be the gold standard. That will be the highest level. If you see our logo, that you're now in great shape. And the last part of it is I pioneered critical care, the most difficult area of medicine, because all the organs are failing, sepsis and all the bad things, as a result of all the way up here, metabolic dysfunction. Down here, basically, I pioneered it, but it only helped a few people. And it never really alleviated the suffering. And they may have lived a little bit longer. Now, we will eliminate that physicians are really, in traditional medicine, is actually alternate care. Where healthcare, true healthcare, our healthcare is the model that's used to set the standard for health in the world.
Dr. A, 16 years ago, I met you when I owned a small little furniture store. I was in debt up to my eyeballs. I was not present as a father, but I drove across the city 3 hours from Portland to Bend to hear you. And people say, where did it start for you, Doug? And I was like, I took a chance. I took action. I called a coach. I was down 20, 30 pounds. He told me this Dr. A and Dan are coming to Bend. And I drove over there, and I look back at when did your journey of my entire life being changed start. And I know many coaches watching this right now do thank you, and we do honor you. But I sincerely say thank you as a friend. You've been a mentor. We've been on the front lines together for a long time, but you've always been an incredible leader. And the next 10 years, I know we're just getting started. And I love that at 73 years old, you're like, we haven't done nothing yet. We're just getting started to be on the front lines. But I sincerely, Tia, and I thank you for our life and the millions of coaches that have been impacted because of your hard work and you leaving critical care and swimming upstream. We're better for it. So thank you.
I appreciate that. And Doug, I can't be more proud of you and Tia and the work you've done, the effect you've had. A good part of those 3 million people come from your hard work. And you're building a great team of leaders. We are doing that together. We're coming together. We're swimming the boat all in the same direction now.
Right.
We're unstoppable. Now's the time. And for anybody that's listening, come with us. Come with us now.
It is the time.
All right.
Thanks, Dr. A.
Yep. Awesome.